let's get going. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Public Works Committee for the City of Rapid City for Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. The first order of business is roll call and determination of a quorum. Brenda, when you're ready.
Drew?
Here.
Solomon? Modrick? Here. Roberts? Here. Nordstrom? Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Brenda. Now we're on to the adoption of the agenda. Nordstrom moves to approve.
Second.
Second by Lisa Modrick. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Now is the time for general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on the issue not on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the aldermen present. And we have no general public comment. So we're on to consent items. Items 1 through 12. Public comment is opened. We have no speaker requests on 1 through 12, so now public comment is closed. So now it's up to the members of the committee to remove any items for consent.
Madam Chair?
Yeah?
I'd like to remove 10.
Lisa Modrick wants to remove item 10. Anything else?
Move to approve everything.
Roberts makes a motion to approve everything except item 10, and Nordstrom as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Okay, so we go on now to items 1 through 10, or 1 through 12, excuse me. So we're going to 10. Agreement with the State of South Dakota Department of Transportation transferring funding for high priority project funds for project SD 150 East Anamosa Street extension to the East, North, and La Crosse Street Road and Bridge. We go to Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I ask Richie a question regarding CIP and this project? And Richie, if you could give us a public explanation on this?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Essentially, the funding is going to from the state, the STIP program, and I'm sure most of us heard and understand what the STIP program is. And then most of it.
Please explain that for those that don't.
State Transportation Improvement Planning. And it's an agreement with the municipalities that the state has, and Dale Tech can offer a lot more information about this than I can. But essentially, we've got approximately $170,000 that will be transferred to our CIP fund from the state. So if there's anything else that you would like to hear or see on it, let me know.
Thank you, Richie. May I ask Dale a question while I'm still
Please
in the
do.
queue?
Thank you.
Thank you. Dale, with the $170,000, is that designated into a project already deemed to be done in 2017 or 18?
If I may, I'll provide a little background on this. The Anamosa Street project, or SD 150 as this agreement, as well as the agenda item describes, was a federal earmark project that the city, through the state, received to construct Anamosa Street, roughly from Walmart over to where it tied into the existing Anamosa Street near Menards. The project was completed. There were federal funds still left available. There was another project that installed the pedestrian crosswalk near Menards there near Walmart on Anamosa Street, and then another extension, I believe, of Century Road off of Anamosa Street. That project's completed. There are still federal funds available. So the federal laws, if you will, on these types of funding allow for repurposing of those funds. So what the state intends to do, if all the stars align and all the paperwork can be done in time to meet the federal deadline, I believe it's September 5th, that these funds, approximately $170,000, could be transferred directly to the city of Rapid City, with the caveat that they must be spent on street or bridge construction or repair. So that's the purpose of this agreement, and as I said, it's It may or may not happen. We're hopeful that it is. It looks like the paperwork is all heading in the correct direction, so we'll find out probably by the first part of September. As part of this, though, we need this agreement approved. It's a integral part of what needs to be shown to the federal highway that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So that's the background on this. You're welcome.
Thanks for clarifying that it goes to bridges or roads. I was wondering about that part. I still need a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may make the motion to approve this item.
Councilman Nordstrom makes the motion to approve with a second by Lisa Modrick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we're on to non-consent items, 13 through 14. We have public comment that is open at this time with 13 through 14. Cale, would you like to take that now or wait till we get to it?
Item 13?
Yes. It's your choice, you know. Okay, that's fine. So public comment is now closed. So now we'll go to item 13, appeal of denied exception request from Spurlick Consulting on behalf of Creek Drive LLC to allow the use of dead-end water main longer than 1,200 feet in East Anamosa Street. And we go to Cale McNabo, who has a speaker request in. Please say your name and address, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Cale McNabo, 821 Columbus Street. I own Spurlick Consulting, and we're the civil engineer of record on this project. Thanks for the opportunity to present today. I have a couple of items or a couple of exhibits that I'd like to show. The first that I brought up is actually sort of a vicinity map. What you're going to see is the subject property that we're talking about. This is let me pan down. It's right out by Menards. And what you see is, this is the Menards facility. Then the lot we're talking about, they've been nice enough to X out, is located in yellow. The subject of today's request is we've made an exception to not extend the water main loop back to this location. And I'd like to give you a little bit of background in kind of what led us to this point and what the purpose of our request is, plus some of the ramifications of a denial of the request. And to do that, I'd like to bring up a separate exhibit that I generated. So once again, what we see is the lot that we're proposing to plat. Again, this would be the Menards. So we're not touching the Philadelphia Street right away. And we're not coming all the way down to the intersection with Philadelphia Street. We're proposing to plat a single lot in this location. Now, to design this road and to plat that lot requires installation of dual water mains. Because it's an arterial street, it requires a water main on each side of the road. And so we have proposed to construct the water mains in green on this side of the road and the one on this side of the road. One of them will be dry, but as the high level water comes through, they'll become active. And we proposed that as part of this platting action in accordance with the staff comments and requirements for platting. Now, our request today is in reference to this 1,200 feet on a dead-end main. That's a criteria set up through the Infrastructure Design Criteria Manual that says you can't have a dead-end main longer than 1,200 feet without looping the main. Now, the question becomes the 1,200 feet. What drives the dictation that 1,200 feet is the magic number? I suspect it's just a number that has always been used, and so we just continue to use it. But realistically, it would only make sense the 1,200 feet if you could take water service from it. Because if you're not taking water service line from any length past 1,200 feet, then there'd be no point in it. You wouldn't have an interruption of service. If you could take service within 1,200 feet, then the intention of the ordinance has been met, because you don't have an interruption of service issue. If you had a break downstream of it, you could certainly isolate it. And the purpose of my saying that is you can see the area in orange. This is where the 1,200-foot ends. So realistically, this lot can pull a water. They front the main. We could pull a water service off within that 1,200-foot magic number. It's this length which exceeds the 1,200 feet. But there's no intention in the short term to pull a water service beyond 1,200 feet because we don't have a plan in to do so. Now, certainly development of this lot would make that water service connection at a distance greater than 1,200 feet and would obviously trigger a looping. What staff has recommended is that the installation of this loop to avoid this situation of a water main in excess of 1,200 feet. I'd like to point out that that's approximately 1,370 lineal feet of water main that would have to get installed down an unimproved right-of-way. It's not even a right-of-way right now. It would have to get improved across basically two parcels or detention cell and the future right-of-way in this location to be able to make that connection. I'd like to show you what that alignment looks like. For scale, I told you that it was approximately 1,370 lineal feet of water main that we're talking about, and you think, well, that's a lot of water main to build off site, but that's not half of the story. What you have, I'll blow this up so we can see it easier. Sorry, I went the wrong way. What you have is an alignment of Philadelphia Street. It's a little hard to see, but I'll just draw on it. This is the existing grade along the future Philadelphia Street right-of-way. And this would be the finished grade of Philadelphia Street. I'd like to point out that it would require 25 feet of fill to be brought in along that alignment to build this thing to grade. Because we can't just go in there raw ground and bury that water main 6 feet deep, because future Philadelphia Street, after the 25 feet of fill is on top of it, would then put that water main 31 feet in the ground. So what we're looking at, we need this improvement of this alignment and adding that 25 feet of dirt fill to achieve that finished grade for Philadelphia Street would require 55,000 cubic yards of dirt to achieve the 25-foot fill height. You'd also have to change the outlet structure on the detention cell, get some extension to it. Additionally, there's a sewer main that runs through this location, and by the time we put an additional 25 feet of fill on it, we'd have to evaluate the deflection in that pipe, because all of a sudden that sewer's clearly at depth too. You're talking plus 30 feet of fill on that alignment. So if I can get back to the purpose behind the loop, and when this lot is platted, this water main will be constructed, as is the requirement and the exception that we made previously that was denied. I was initially trying to plat this lot and that lot. The purchaser for this lot went away, so that application was just withdrawn. Came back with an application to simply plat the one lot. So the future extension of East Philadelphia Street requires a tremendous amount of work to be able to accommodate, including the large hill that's currently in this intersection that have to be graded off. That requires easements and negotiations and purchase of easements from these individuals on the other side of the hill to place that water main at the correct depth which accommodates the future alignment of East Anamosa Street and East Philadelphia Street. I can show you what that intersection looks like. And here again, you can see the existing topography on East Philadelphia Street and what's going to have to be the future alignment of Anamosa Street. You see this area? That is all cut. That would have to happen partially on my client's property, a large volume of it on the neighbor's property to achieve the finished alignment of East Philadelphia Street. This would all have to happen to make that water main loop, or else you bury it 6 feet deep, and in this location, you have to replace it because it's not deep enough, and down here, you have to replace it because it's way too deep. And I guess that was the basis of our coming here and asking the Public Works Department to support our request for the exception to not construct the water main loop in the East Philadelphia Street corridor. And I do have, I'd just like to point out the owner is available for questions if you'd have any later. And with that, unless you have questions for me, I believe that I've completed my.
The chair recognizes Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Gail, for that. And Dale, I'd like to start, if I could, by asking you with the information that we just received, why staff feels that we need to have a future along Philadelphia already placed that infrastructure in there, the lines in there, when he can tap into the 12-foot that's already there, and why it would need to be finished since we don't have that corner developing at this point.
The first thing I'll respond to is I believe Cale has, or Mr. McNabo has incorrectly, how should I say this, interpreted what the criteria says. It explicitly says dead-end mains longer than 1,200 feet are expressly prohibited. It doesn't discuss service lengths or anything of that nature. So this subdivision that they're proposing and the improvements that they're proposing will result in a dead-end water main of in excess of 1,500 feet. The Council Development Committee that met and put all these standards in place was made up of council members, developers, consultants, city staff. This is pretty strong language that was included in the criteria manual. I wasn't there, so I don't know why it was such strong language, but it was important to that group at the time to ensure that we don't have water mains out there that are in excess of 1,200 feet. I can only speculate on the reasons for that. That would be that there'd be adequate fire protection available for whatever facilities are built on these water mains, and to ensure that there's an adequate supply of municipal water just on their day-to-day needs. So with that being said, Cale had indicated that they'd come in with a plat before to show that they were going to build that other lot and make other improvements. Well, they backed away from that. Puts this particular lot in a situation where they're going to be making a situation that is right on the edge of the limits of the requirement, well in excess of the requirement. So it's up to you to decide whether or not that's an acceptable thing to do or not.
So if it's on the edge of the requirement, is it on the edge in the favor of the developer?
It's on the edge right now today before they even do anything. If they plat this lot and make the improvements, they'll be well in excess of the requirement.
So by doing the loop on a future development of a road that isn't even prepared yet, is it fair to the developer to force them over onto Philadelphia's future?
He had indicated, Cale had indicated that when they plat that lot in the future, that they're going to make those improvements.
So can we defer that to at that time?
You can do whatever you would like to do, yes.
Thank you. I like that answer. Thanks, Dale.
Chair recognizes Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to take a stab at why the water line it has a specific limit on it. Being involved with it in a previous life, I kind of understand why that limit is, because for one reason, it takes a little extra maintenance on that line to keep the water from going dead. In other words, if it just sits there, after a certain period of time, the water just loses all its oxygen. Everything else associated with potable water, it just goes away. It goes dead, and it becomes a stagnant water issue. And we don't want to approach anything like that at all. Just an opinion. So for that part of it, I think if we're going to do any kind of an extension over there, we need to have the entire loop over there, so we don't have to worry about the water going stagnant within the water main. So that's my major concern on that. The next part is maybe a question for Dale. Have you been able to negotiate with this developer to see if we can't do something like, if I understand my history correctly, we've done some negotiations with future developers to come in and reimburse this current developer? Is there some way to have those funds earmarked or set aside?
I don't believe that in this case that's appropriate.
Okay.
To me, it's a simple fact of either build it or don't. So I guess those are your two options that I would suggest are in front of you today. And anything beyond that would be overly complicated and probably unnecessary.
Understand. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm going to say probably from the fire prevention aspect of it too. I'd be interested in hearing what the fire prevention people or the fire department has to say about this continuous loop, because I do recall one of the main arguments that we needed a water main line loop for the airport was so that we could have the additional fire protection. And I would assume that it's the same process or procedure for this development as well. For now, I'll yield.
Thank you. The chair recognizes John Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. McNamara, you look like you wanted to add something to that deadline, some information.
Yes, thanks, sir. I would like to point out that what we're looking at is the development of this one lot with an industrial use application. If we're concerned about the water in the line going dead, let's just move the service line right down to the end. It'll keep the water circulating through the pipe. If you're concerned about the main sizes and fire flows, I'd like to point out that we're talking about constructing a 16-inch water main on the east side of the road and a 20-inch water main on the west side of the road. So we're already talking about large diameter water mains servicing. They're going to be out in front of this property, and we can certainly move the service line connections far enough down that we can keep water moving through the pipe. So I think the idea that it would be setting septic, as long as this, this industrial client doesn't disappear, we're just going to move forward with it, and that's the solution to that problem. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The chair recognizes Richie Nordstrom.
Mr. McNable, just to clarify, we cannot do a loop on the 12-inch and the 16-inch. Am I correct on that? Is that what you're proposing? Just so I'm clear.
No. So the water main, and it's kind of a long story, but the water main on the east side of Anamosa Street is going to be 16-inch future high level, but it's on the low level system right now. The water main that's constructed, we're going to construct on the west side of the roads, 20-inch low level that's going to be dry right now. It'll be a dry main until it gets extended one way or the other. So what we're talking about is the 16-inch on the east side of the road, taking that water service connection, we could run it down to the end of our platting, pull a service connection off the end to keep that water from the charged main, the 16-inch circulating through the system. But the only looping that can happen is to take it all the way to Philadelphia Street, because the 20 that we're going to build is dry on both ends.
Thank you, Gail. I'm still trying to put this picture together, what you're presenting, so
Would you mind if I pulled it up? I can show you
Go for it.
exactly it.
if we have time. Yeah.
I'll allow time.
So this water main is 20-inch. That's the one we're going to build. And it will not have anything in it. This is 16-inch. It is low-level water right now, which is going to move to high level when this water main ultimately comes through. What we can do, we'll have it capped down in this end. To service this property, we could pull the service line off of this end, which then keeps the water circulating through this 16 and into the future building. But we can't loop it back to the 20 because the 20 is capped on each end.
Thank you. That helps me out a whole bunch, but please clarify the volume of water that's going to be coming off of that 16-inch line.
Yeah, the actual consumption demand, boy, to be honest with you, I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean, it'll be metered. There'll be if it's industrial use, it'll have a 6-inch tap coming off of this main. You'll have a 6-inch service coming into it. What ultimately their monthly consumption is, in all honesty, I don't know what that's going to be.
Thank you, Gail. Something else for me to consider. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to accept the appeal as requested.
Motion by Modrick, second by Roberts to accept the appeal as requested. I have a couple questions, Cale. So as I understand it, what I looked at there, you have a plat for one property. Is that what's going on here?
Yes, ma'am, it's one lot.
Okay. And so, I mean, you're a consultant, this is your business, and you were aware of the water main requirement going into this project?
Yeah, I was aware that there could be a dead-end looping issue, yes.
Okay. Was there a point where you thought you were going to have another property and you only ended up with one, so you had to pull back, or what happened there?
Yeah, ultimately, we started off this, we were going to plat the lot right next to it that would touch Philadelphia, which made this whole thing a lot more viable. But when that client went away, there's no upside to platting that lot because it's a tremendous expense that would go into platting a lot that would just sit vacant until before, till whenever it happens, until the next client comes along. So the idea being that got a client in hand who wants this lot. Let's plat the road in front of it. Let's build the road in front of it, build the water mains, plat this lot, and get him going. And then when the next individual comes along and wants the next lot, let's go plat that and do the design and the development necessary to make that happen.
Well, I think you were going forward with the idea that this will be a successful development at some point, correct?
Well, sure, this corridor is, I have, a high level of belief that this is going to be a viable corridor into the future. We're building an arterial street, so I think there's certainly the city staff's position as well is that Anamosa is going to push through, and we're building it to, we're dedicating the right-of-way and building a current arterial street for this.
Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but at what point do you decide not to comply with the requirement?
Oh, as far as the 1,200 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess in my mind, it happens when the next lot goes, the one on the corner of Philadelphia and Anamosa, because that one is platting the Philadelphia Street right-of-way. So that would trigger the improvements in the Philadelphia Street right-of-way. But this one's not platting up against Philadelphia Street. I mean, it's several hundred feet away.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I think we're ready to vote on this. Okay. And we do have a motion on the floor to, oh, excuse me, Richie is in the queue again. Yeah.
Thank you for taking my comments again. For right now, Cale, I'm just going to vote against this motion just because I need more information. I'm satisfied with what staff is presenting as far as the rules and regulations, and as you heard, my major concerns are And then, so I'd like to have a little bit more opportunity to research what you've provided. Looks intriguing, however, I need a lot more information yet before I can make an informed decision. Thank you.
All right, so we'll go ahead with the vote. All in favor of the motion to uphold the appeal? Is that what it is?
Approve.
Approve the appeal of the denied exception, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
2 in favor, 1 opposed. Do I vote? Okay, I won't. Okay, thank you. 2 in favor, 2 opposed, or 1 opposed. So this goes on to the council with a recommendation for appeal of the denial. Next, we're on to item 14. Request from the Rapid City Area School District 51-4 for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk per city ordinance 12.08.060 along Enchanted Pines Drive for proposed tract of Block 3 PLM subdivision. I see no comments. Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see, who do I want to take this to first? May I start with Dale?
Of course.
All right, thanks. Dale, on this sidewalk, we're looking at the school district turning the deed back over to the city, and it states in here that it would be required to have the sidewalk called in before that transfer is taken. Is that how it reads? In my long explanation?
Yes, at the time of platting the property, improvements are identified, and sidewalks are one of the improvements. They have to show that it's going to be installed. Typically, on developable lot, that sidewalk's installed at the time of building permit issuance. However, this lot is primarily a drainage lot, which the requirements, I believe, say that the developer is required to put the sidewalks in on those types of lots because there will never be a building permit issued for those lots. A little more background on this, as I understand it, this property was unplatted. The school board or school district, if you will, transferred some of the property, sold it to a private developer. I don't know if lots or such have been built on that property and left this unplatted balance. Now they're trying to get rid of this. It serves no benefit to the school. It's a drainage area. They want to transfer it to the city. Therefore, they have to plat it to be able to transfer it. That means the sidewalk requirement kicks in, and I believe it would be in the city's best interest to have the sidewalk installed before they accepted the property.
Before we accept their property?
Correct.
So they're required to plat it by ordinance?
No, by state law, to be able to transfer the property, they have to plat the property.
And then once they plat it, they bring it back to you again, and
They will
we
come
review
to you and request that
Directly.
the city takes this property.
I see.
And in previous exchanges of land between school district and city, have we had the same requirements and done the same thing?
I can't think of any particular instances of that, but this is what the rules say we need to do.
And do we have a representative from the school district here?
Thank you for allowing me to speak in front of you, and this is my first time in front of you, so let me introduce myself. Kumar Velaswamy, I'm the facilities manager for the district.
Would you give your address, please, sir?
306th Street, Rapid City, South Dakota, 57701. This is my third year in this job, and as I am seeing the district properties, I would like to clean up the district properties. I mean, there are partnerships with Parks and Recs and with the city and with other public entities. Just to make all the paperwork clear, we started this. Well, it's my understanding that was supposed to have given it to the city a long time ago. Well, when I checked into these, no, it wasn't done right. So I had Renner and Associates help me with it, and Mitch brought talked to Ted, and they brought the requirements and said, well, we have to build a sidewalk. Currently, it's a drainage lot. It's not being used by the school. But this is one of the many that may come, that I may give it, school district may give it back to the city for the good reasons. And so here we are. And, last year there was a requirement along Canyon Lake Drive or Canyon Lake School, which costed us close to $60,000 to build a sidewalk, which we did. But, as we all know, school districts are running out of funds. And so here I am asking in front of you that, this is, we are appealing the requirement, and we would like to plot it and give it to the city and move on, I guess.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have you got an estimate of what the sidewalk would cost the school district before the transfer?
And I have not personally done one, but I saw the comment that city estimates close to $18,000, if I remember it right.
And Dale, is there anything else that needs to be done for this transfer, or once that's complete, does that transfer take place? Are there any other costs involved?
I don't know what the school district's wishes are. Their wishes are to transfer to the city. I am assuming it's at no cost, but they will have to make that application or make that request to you.
And that's our intention, at no cost or whatever minimal requirements that is required by the state to follow.
And Dale, can you think of any other properties out there where we've done land transfers on, where we've had to call in a sidewalk first before the transfer to the city?
I can think of an instance where a developer platted a drainage lot, showed that the sidewalks were going to be installed, let the property go for taxes. The city ended up with it, and the city ended up having to come up with $9,000 to install sidewalks on the property. So,
All right, thank you.
Chair recognizes Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to try to make a motion here to see if I've got this down pretty close. Is that motion to deny the appeal to waive the requirement to install sidewalks in this area. If I get a second, I'll.
Motion.
There's no.
Yeah.
Motion to deny.
If I may ask the city attorney for, or maybe even for clarification on what you would like to see for a motion on this.
I think a motion, if your intent is to deny the request, just a motion to deny the request.
That's my motion, is to deny the request.
A motion to deny the request from Richie Nordstrom and a second from John Roberts.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Coomer, I really appreciate your coming forward on this and giving us the straight scoop and the history on the background of this property. I really appreciate being forthright on the information. And I'm one of those people that is a strong advocate for sidewalks everywhere we can put a sidewalk in. And that's my reason for wanting to see sidewalks in this location, is that it's, and you're caught in a catch-22. I understand that part. However, yeah, we've got to get sidewalks installed, and I can go on a little bit further yet, but I really appreciate your being forthright on this coming to us. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes John Roberts.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And this is really an interesting one because either way, the taxpayers are paying for the sidewalk. So it's either going to come out of the school board's funds, or it's going to come out of probably the general fund or CIP, or, but one way or another, the taxpayers are paying for it. So, and it's very interesting because being an H lot, it looks like the only valuable property this school board already split off and sold. So we're going to get back, nothing but cost to the city of Rapid City. We're going to have an ongoing cost for the rest of our life to take care of that drainage lot. So, like I said, just one way or another, taxpayers are paying for it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Lisa Modrick.
I've just got to say while the school district is here, we had a prairie dog family that developed out there, and I've been in appreciation of the fact that the school district has taken the responsibility because the neighborhood is growing. And so it's pushed a lot of the dog towns into that area. There's water, there's food. And so they've worked diligently as well to work on our rodent situation if we do in fact take this back, and maybe we'll only have to take care of a smaller few of the rodents, but you had a massive job, and it happens to be on this lot and the one behind it. And so I want to say that I appreciate that the school board took the initiative to take care of the land as it's in their as it is on their side. So thank you for that, if you could pass that forward too, because that wasn't an inexpensive cost for you to do. But I know that the neighborhoods are appreciating that, especially since we're talking about the lots behind them. Thank you.
Kumar, I have a quick question. You can answer it from there if you wish, and then I will just read it into the minutes. But did you say $18,000 or $80,000 for the sidewalk? $18,000. Okay, I just wanted to make that very clear. So it's $18,000 we're talking about here. Seeing no more lights, we've got a motion to deny on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Nordstrom, second by Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.